All right, so the first myth is that it's all about your 401k and your investment strategy savings. Well, that's not necessarily true. Any good retirement plan is going to have three different plans. Number one is going to be your income plan, in which you take a look at all your different income streams and how you have money coming in. Number two is going to be your investment plan, which is what we're talking about, keeping your investments moving in a forward direction and keeping your asset allocation balanced the way you need it and rebalancing at certain times. And number three is going to be your tax strategy. And tax strategy is huge in the retirement plan. So that's the first myth, is that it's all just about your 401k or your 403b or your IRA. That's just not true. All right, and the second myth is that money is more important than time. Now, is money important? Yes, it's very important. If you don't have nearly enough money, it's going to be hard to retire and retire well. So you got to have the money. But what you really need to ask is, how much time can I squeeze out of my money, right? Because your money is a tool. That's all it is. Your money is a tool. And you want to make sure that you can get as much out of your time as possible. So the questions you want to ask are, can I retire early? Maybe should I work part-time, in retirement? Or can I spend less in retirement? So those are some of the questions that you need to ask yourself. And when it comes right down to it, that time is worth more than your money. The money is just a tool to get you to where you can spend and have that time. And you got to balance those two. All right, and number three is, you've got to not only save your money, but you've got to invest your money. Taking your money and sticking it in a mattress is not going to get you where you want to be. You have to use compounding to get your money to grow for you, to beat inflation, and to go ahead and build up that money where you need it to be. Because remember, like I said, time is more valuable than money, but you got to have the money to be able to enjoy the time that you have. All right, number four is that you can just go and use an online calculator for retirement and, you're good to go. That is not true, folks. I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot more to retirement and retirement tax planning and investment strategies than just using a calculator or the 4% rule, especially if you're going to retire early. Because if you're going to retire early and you're going to try to make it to where you can live off 4% of your assets, you're going to have a big nest egg. And you might not necessarily need that big of a nest egg, because later on in life, Social Security is going to kick in. You may have some pensions or something like that. And you got to remember, there's RMDs, required minimum distributions, that kick in, that you got to think about how much you have in your nest egg and how much they're going to make you take, depending on whether it's a traditional or a Roth. So there are several things that you have to think about, and you can't just use an online, quickie calculator to figure out whether you can retire or not. I'm going to take this chance here to tell you, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a professional, so I would suggest that you seek out a fee-only fiduciary financial advisor to help you customize a plan just for you. And if you think you might be interested in it, there's a software out there that Bolden has. It's what they used to call the New Retirement. It's now Bolden, and I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but it's the software that I use just as a double check, and so I can pull some levers and whatnot in my retirement plan and make sure that I'm on the right course. All right, number five is that your retirement plan is a one and done. Once you get it done, you can just, there you go. I'm going to get it done when I'm 40 years old or 50 years old, and that's the plan I'm going to use. Well, you know what, folks? Things change. The markets change, your investments change, and the amount of your nest egg changes. And you have to update that financial plan. And I would suggest doing it at least once a year before you retire, and then after you retire, maybe visiting it quarterly or at least twice a year, and take a look and make sure you're still on the right track and that the numbers haven't changed too much, because it is a very complicated process to have a retirement plan. And some of you may think that you could just take a spreadsheet and go ahead and build a spreadsheet down in your basement and be good to go, and there are a few of you that probably are capable of that. But I'm going to tell you, with all the formulas and the cells and everything else, if I were going to do it on my own, I would at a minimum use a good software like Bolden or New Retirement. And number 6, probably the largest overlooked expense that people have is health care. Now, there's a study shown that when you're single at 65 years old, you're going to spend $157,500 on average on health care costs between 65 and the time you pass. If you're a couple, it's going to be $315,000. So that's a big chunk. You need to make sure that you've got that built into your budget, and make sure you got that right when you're doing your retirement plan. Okay, and number 7 is kind of combines a couple that I've already talked about, but you really need to have a Monte Carlo simulation, and your financial advisor, or like I mentioned before, this Bolden software can give you this Monte Carlo simulation, which takes thousands of different scenarios and puts them together and gives you the most likely outcome for your retirement. And as like I say, you pull the levers where you can raise and lower inflation, you can raise and lower market returns and things like that. That can really help you out. And take a look at that simulation and see, where am I at? And it gives you an actual percentage. And it's really nice. And everybody would like to have a 99% percentage, or, there's no such thing as 100. But, maybe 90% is close enough, because you got to remember, that's not 90% doesn't mean that you're going to run completely out of money. It means that maybe later on in life you won't be able to spend quite as much as what you're anticipating spending. But that Monte Carlo simulation is very good, so make sure you get that done. And if you get a real retirement plan done, not just an online calculator, it'll have some sort of Monte Carlo simulation in there for you to take a look at. So I hope you've gotten something out of this video, and if you have, I'd appreciate it if you reach down, hit that like button, and watch this video next.